Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to another episode of Engineering with Shamil. And today we are going to discuss about the firefighter access. So, one of the issues that we have faced, that has been faced in the Lucknow fire incident that took place on 22nd of June 2026, was with regards to the access of firefighting team. So, let us see what exactly happened when it comes to the access for the firefighting. So, as we all know, the incident took place on 22nd of June 2026, and it took place in the Aliganj town of Lucknow district in Uttar Pradesh, and it happened around the afternoon, and it had affected 15 lives. It took away 15 lives, and several people were injured in the building. So one observation that was made was regarding with regards to the firefighters. So the firefighters who have come to the building, they were not able to get inside the building. They, in order to gain entry, they had to breach a wall, and they had to depend on the neighboring building in order to gain access to the terrace of the affected building. And with this, we have learned that every minute which we are lost in identifying the entry for the building, entry for the building, which actually led to the dropping of the survivability chances. Okay, so this is what we have observed. Now, let us explore deeper on what actually happened in the Lucknow incident. So the first thing is that the main entrance of the building, which was the only single point of entry, and that same staircase was that same entrance was the single point of exit. Okay, that was actually unusable because it was engulfed with fire and smoke, and that was the only staircase available for the upper floors. Then there was no other emergency or exits. There was no other emergency exits. There was no alternate entry points, and the firefighters who had reached the site, they had to breach a side wall to gain entry. The second solution that they have found was they had to go to a neighboring building in order to access the terrace of the affected building. So this is what the firefighters actually faced. Now, what is the problem? Now, the problem is that the problem over here is delayed access. So the problem is when you are identifying the route during the time of an emergency, the rescue operations get delayed, and when the rescue operations get delayed, the access is getting delayed, and because of which the people inside, the survivability chances for the people inside is getting reduced. So one thing that we have to understand is fire always grow exponentially, and here time is very critical because there is less time for us to save these people, and the fire is growing exponentially, and the smoke started spreading and it's incapacitated the people who were trapped inside the building, because of which victims started losing consciousness, and because of the delayed access, the survivability rate started reducing. So what do the codes require when it comes to the firefighter access? So the first thing is regarding the fire lanes. So the fire lanes around the building should be clear and unobstructed. The roadways around the building should be clear and unobstructed. The access roads, whichever is constructed near beside the building, that needs to be made in such a way that it supports the fire engine apparatus. So normally the weight of the fire engine apparatus is 75,000 pounds. That is the minimum, and it should be designed in such a way it supports the fire engine apparatus. Then the building should have standpipe connections. Now, what do we mean by standpipe connection? Standpipe connection is basically an external outlet which is located outside the building, so that the fire department team, they can connect their hoses in order to supply the water inside the building. Then we have the fire department connection. So fire department connection is basically for the firefight team to pump water into the sprinkler system in case the water which is assigned for the emergency purpose, it gets reduced. That is the fire department connection. Then we have the accessible perimeter. Again, the perimeter around the building, that is the area around the building, should be cleared. It should be free of access. Then the next one is the clear windows and openings. So in case if the building has windows and openings, there should be some windows which are dedicated for the emergency access or for the ventilation purpose. And then we have the roof access. The roof access is basically a safe way to reach the roof for ventilation and rescue purposes. So these are some of the requirements that the fire code recommend for the firefighter access. So one is the fire lanes, the second one is the access roads, the third one is the standpipe connections, the fourth one is the fire department connection, the fifth one is the accessible perimeter, the sixth one is the clear or windows and openings, and the last one is the roof access. Now let us see what do you mean by a standpipe connection. So a standpipe connection or a fire department connection is basically an external outlet which is located outside the building, which is located on the building exterior. So the firefighting team, whichever comes to the building, they will connect the hoses which is there in the fire engine, and they will pump the water in the fire engine to the building. Okay, they will supply the water to the building, and the water will be going to all the internal standpipes and to the internal sprinkler systems. Okay, this is what the purpose of standpipe connection is. So the standpipe connection is typically located near the main entrance for easy access, and it must be clearly marked and unobstructed. That is, it should be easily identifiable, and there should not be any obstruction or trouble in identifying which is the fire department connection. Now, what are the Lucknow violations? What all observations were noted in the Lucknow fire incident? Or let me rephrase it in such a way, as you see in the slide. What did the building get wrong when it comes to the firefighter access? So the first thing is that the building was actually located in a dense populated area. Okay, and because of which there was a limited access. So no person, not even a vehicle, can actually enter the building, and not even a vehicle could pass beside the building. Okay, so this is the problem which the firefighting team had faced. The second thing was that there was no standpipe connection over there. There was no active fire protection systems involved, so there was no standpipe connection, because of which the firefighting team was not able to connect the hoses to the building. They were not able to supply the hoses to the. They were not able to supply the water to the building, so they had to go away from the building and then run the hoses from there. Then there was no accessible perimeter, or it was all crowded. So the obstacles which was there around the building, they blocked the entry, and they had no roof access. There was no safe way to reach the roof. So the firefighting team, they had to use the neighboring building in order to gain the access to the roof in the affected building. And there was no clear entry point. So the firefighting team, they had to breach a wall in order to gain entry to the building. Now, what is the consequence of this? So what is the consequence of delayed access? So the consequence of delayed access is that the firefighters, when they reach, they should start their operation immediately. This is the lesson that we all have. So if they actually come over there and they waste time in order to find the exit routes, or in order to find the way to enter, then that actually leads to the wastage of time. And because of this wastage of time, what happens is the people who are there affected in the building, who are trapped inside the building, they will lose their lives. The survivability chances will be getting dropped, will be reduced. The victims who were trapped inside the building, they don't have any rescue measures, and the fire continued to grow exponentially. The smoke started to spread to all the floors, and the survivability decreased with every passing minute. So these are the consequences for the delayed access. So the best practices for a building design is that when it comes to the firefighter access, that firstly, we need to have clear fire lanes. There should not be any parked cars. There should not be any obstacles. Okay, that is number one. Second thing is that there should not be any standpipe connections. Okay, so the standpipe connection should be identifiable. It should be easily identifiable. It should be visible. It should be accessible, and it should be marked. Okay, that is the thing for the standpipe connection. Then the accessible perimeter. All sides of the building should be reachable. Okay, it should be clear of obstructions. Okay, so these are the three things which we need to consider while designing the firefighter access for any building. So first one is the clear fire lanes. The second one is easily recognizable or easily identifiable standpipe connections, and then the last one is the accessible perimeter. Okay, so and there are three more points. So, and in continuation with regards to the design for firefighter access, we need to ensure that there is a access for the roof. Then we need to know that there are emergency windows. That is, there are windows which are designated for the emergency or rescue operations. Then the building floor plans need to be provided to the fire department team. So what is the key takeaway? The key takeaway is that the firefighter access will save lives. Okay, so that is the importance of having a firefighter access. So the building should be designed in such a way that there is a rapid entry for the firefighting team. Okay, and the fire lanes, the standpipes, and the accessible perimeters are mandatory. When the access is getting delayed, So the people who are there trapped inside the building, their lives are being lost. And the firefighter access is not an afterthought. It's supposed to be a critical design element. It should be something that should have been thought during the time of the design of the building. So that is why we have a firefighter access. So this is it. This is all about the firefighter access. So in case if you have any queries, comments or doubts regarding this particular video, please do share them in the chat box, and I would be happy to oblige to respond to those queries. And thank you for listening. Before signing off, I would request all of you to kindly share and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Engineering with Shamil, so it will become motivation for me to create more videos when it comes to the engineering. To create more videos with regards to engineering. So thank you once again, and wishing all of you a good day ahead. Thank you.